But yes, it's Hashem Yisbarach. We're here with our Daf Yomi Meseches Bechoros. Daf Yud Dalid Amar Aleph. Zak the Mishnah. Kol Kachim Shekadam Mum Kavua Lehekdesham. Any Kachim that before you were Makdish it had a Mum Kavua, well, you can't be Makdish an animal that has a Mum Kavua. And the Niftu and you were paid it, Chayavim B'Bechayrah. Now we know that we only are Chayavim B'Char for Chulin, not for Kachim. This never had a Din Kachim. That's why, and therefore it's not pater. It's not pater from Bechar because it wasn't kaddish. It was kadam mumay lehekdeshai. Ubimatanes it's also chayav matnes kahuna, which a normal hekdesh animal would not be. The yates in the chulin and it is completely chulin. Li gazes ulei aved. You could do giza. You could work with it. The vladan v'chaba mutter, and if it has children, it is mutter. The chalav is mutter. After pidyonim, after pidyon, because before pidyon it would not be. V'asheichtem chutz patir nachai for shchutei chutz. The einais in tmura, and it does not have dinei tmura. The emesu, and if they die, yiftu, you could be paid to them. It is not considered like hegdish emesu that has no pidyon. You could be paid to them. Chutz min ha-bechar and min ha-meiser, except for bechar and meiser, which is chal de kedusha, even if it has a mum. Because kadam hekdesh has mumam, and anything that hekdesh came before the mum, oy mum iver hekdeshim, or only had a mum iver, which is not a problem, and then you are makdish it, ula acher v'kan mum kavua, and then it got mum kavua, v'niftu, and then you're paid it, petur min ha-bechara, it's patur min ha-bechar, like regular kachim, umin ha-tanais, like regular kachim, v'ein gates in chulim ligazit leim avid, and it's not so chulindik that now you could do gizva avoda. It still has like a din of kachim sheniftu that it still has an iser gizva avoda. Vladam v'chalva and aser la'acher pidyoinam v'asheichtem b'chutz is chayev v'aiser tmura, and there is a din tmura that emesu you cover, and if they die before pidyon you have to bury it like regular hagdish. Dr. Gemara, time a din niftu. So we're giving daik in the reisha. Dafka the kachim that is kadam kavua like deshav and you were paid is a chayev. That's why it's pater from Bechoros. I mean, that's why it's chayav in Bechoros. Halay niftu, but before pidyon, piturim in the Bechoros, umin hamatanes. So it must be kesavar kedushas damim madche min habechar umin hamatanes, because we already spoke out that if something is ready to be hekdesh, is not ready to be hekdesh, so it's only chayav kedushas damim. And so then why should it be pater from the Bechoros before you were paid it if it's just kedushas damim? It must be this Tana holds that kedushas damim is mafkiya from chiyav bechar hamatanis. And like the Gemara right there, v'yaitz in the chulin, and when you paid it goes to chulin. Time of the niftu, that's only if you were paid it. Halei niftu, but before pidyon, asir because bikiz avoda, it would have an iser kiz avoda. Misayel the Rebbe Eliezer, that should be a right for Rebbe Eliezer. Damar kachabed kabayis asum bikiz avoda. And this animal that had a mum that you're makdish, that's not royal hakrafa, should be considered kedushas damim or bed kabayis like Rebbe Eliezer. And we see that it would be asir bikiz avoda before pidyon. So it's like Rebbe Eliezer that kedushas bed kabayis is asir bikiz avoda. And that the Gemara says Amri Light. It's not a right Rebbe Eliezer. He says bed kabayis, but kedushas damim of our Mishnah is different. Because our Mishnah is talking about an animal you were makdish. You weren't supposed to be because it has a mum. So it has kedushas damim, but it was makdish limizbeach. So when it's kedushas damim limizbeach, dimichalfi b'kedushas aguf limizbeach, it's going to get switched up. You might think that if this is mutter b'giz v'avoda, so even something that's kedushas haguf limizbeach, I could do giz v'avoda. So make a gezerah, gazru b'rabanan to aser it. Abu kachabed kabayis that has nothing to do with mix up with anything else, and you're makdish it just to sell it for the money. It doesn't have interest in kedusha. That would be mafkiya from giz v'avoda. Not like Rebbe Eliezer. We don't have a raya to Rebbe Eliezer. Vladam v'chalban mutter, like the Mishnah weiter, and in the Gemara quoting the Mishnah. Heichi dami. What are we talking about? Ilem de'i avad de'is aber be'is yalid le'acher pidyon. If we're talking about when did this vlad happen? If it became me'uberes and gave birth after its pidyon, why do I need to tell you that it's mutter? Pshita, chulin inhu, it's regular chulin animal after pidyon. Ella, you're telling me de'is avad lifnei pidyon, it became pregnant before the pidyon, be'is yalid le'acher pidyon, but then it gave birth after you were paid it. Are you going to be medayik from there? Halifnei pidyon asiri. If it gave birth before pidyon, it would be aser. Niftin tmimim, ain niftin tmimim. Well, it wasn't lashon tmiyah. I shouldn't have said it in that nigan. Facts are, will be medayik before pidyon. If it was born, it would be aser. So now, how can I be paid tmimim or ain niftin tmimim? And that means that there's a shayla when you're makdish an animal that's right on his back. That's a tamim. You can't be paid it. It goes to his back. If it has a mum, it's not right anymore, then they can be paid, they can sell it. Now you have this Vlad that was born from something that wasn't really Kedusha, that you have to be paid, but it was born before you were paid, and it's regular, good, healthy animal. But it is not right lemizbeach because it's, the Gemara is going to say it's coming mikayach kedusha dichuya, a kedusha that was not right. Can I be paid it as it is, even though it doesn't have a mum, or does it also need to have a mum? So the Gemara says, Tashma, hamatvis balimumim kavuim lemizbeach, which is in essence what he did in our Mishnah. He grabbed a balmum kavua to be makdish at lemizbeach. V'yaldu, again like our Mishnah, it says yimkaru. Ve'ain tzricha mum. You can sell it, doesn't need a mum. She'ain kedusha chal aleihem. Shaleyehi tafel chamer min ha'ikr. You can't tell me the tafel, the vlad, can't be sold until it gets mum, but it's more chamer than the first thing that you were typhus. But the Gemara is medayik. It says a svara. Taima. The reason we say you can't that it's yumakru is shaleyehi tafel chamer min ha'ikr. Aval hikdish zachar ledamav. But if I makdish a behema, here's a zachar, and I say I want this to only be chal kedushas damin. Kaddish kedusha seguf. Kedusha seguf is automatically chal on it. Misayele the rava damar rava hikdish zachar ledamim kaddish kedusha seguf. If you take a good animal and makdish kedushas damim, it automatically becomes kedusha seguf from his back, and we're going to be a raya to that from the diak of this brisa. The brisa says, only because it's a balmum kavua gamin's back, so we all do it doesn't need a mum to because ain't shalei tavcham in an acre. But if you were makdish tamim, it's mashma that it would be you can't be paid it. So that's a raya to Rava. So we brought a raya, we answered our question. Could it be nifter tmima or not nifter tmima? The Bryce says clearly yes, it could be. And from there, we're also saying a side raya to Rava, who said that when you're makdish something kedushas adamim, it automatically becomes kedushas agov. V'ashreik the bechutz pater, and if you shech the bechutz, it's pater, it's not a chiyuv shchutei chutz. So Eliezer masni chayiv. Rabbi Eliezer said actually you'd be chayiv for shchutei chutz before you were paid it. Umuki la bebamas yachid, and we're talking about if you shechted on a bamas yachid, Amar Eliezer minayin l'sevet behema bas mum bebamas yachid b'shas heter abamais shu b'lei sasei. But bamas yachid means it's not a base mikdash, it's mutter. And he says if you shech the behema on a bamas yachid, that's a balmum. You are over on not and you can't shech a balmum because it was you're allowed to bring karbanis on a bamas yachid. And you can't do balmum, and if you did, you're over on loisase. Shenamar loisis vach la shama likacha sharisa im ina inyan lebama gedayla, and the rest of that pasuk says asher yibad mum, and that can't be talking about in the base of mikdash on the regular bama gedayla diksiv avaris aishav. Already have a separate pasuk for that, so in the lebamas yachid that there too there is an isser of shachting a balmum, and that's why he said in our Mishnah chayiv for shachting it bachutz. In fact, the Gemara, what's Rabbi Eliezer's diya from the fact it says leisis v'achlashem kecha and it's an extra pasuk? Ema im ena inyan lekachim to now in lebechar. Maybe it's coming to tell you that for bechar there would be a heter. Why are you saying? He says don't shech Hashem abamum, and it can't be talking about gedayla because already have a pasuk for that. So it must be to tell me for about misyachah there's an isser also. Maybe it just means for a bechar that bechar there would be an isser of abamum. Since you could be makr, since it's kaddish meirachem, even if it's balmum, so then likarav nami. Maybe I would think that you could also be makdish. You could also be makrabit kishu balmum kamashmalan the pasuk that you can't do balmum. Kamashmalan delight. And I think where it says amri bechar behedik sivei. I like your svara, but I already have a pasuk for a bechar that says pisech and iver loisis v'chanu. You can't shech it. Okay, but still you don't have raya Rabbi Eliezer because ema im in kachim to know in your lemaiser. The sakadach amino hayel v'kadish b'mumai. You could be makdish abamum for maiser diksiv lo yavakar bein tayv l'rad. Do not look through your animals and start saying which one's better or worse. You just take the 10th one, whichever one gets the mark on it. Nikrav nami b'mum is maybe cause to be carved b'bamum kamash blunt. Therefore, I need the pasuk to tell me that you can't do b'mum. And that the Gemara says, Amri meiser nami gamar havar havar mi b'char. I don't need this pasuk for meiser because I already learned that for b'char for the gezerah shava from havar havara. But still affecting Gemara. Maybe the pasuk of loisis v'chen la shalai kecha is enough for bamis yachid, but Amri to know in the tmuras kachim for tmura the sakadach kamina haylo kaddish kishi balmum, since it could be kaddish as balmum diksim layakli fan of layami oisai. Don't switch it up and don't make tmura kreva namik shubalma. Maybe you could also be karvik mashmal delay. Therefore, I need a positive that you cannot. And that the Gemara says Amarkra v'hayahu utmurasai. I say they're both the same. Makish tmurasai loy. Mahu bamum loy af tmuras. But after Murasai Bamum Light, so I don't need a separate pasuk for that. So therefore, the pasuk is for a raya to Eliezer that on a Bamas Yachid there's an Isser Bamum. Maskeflar Zera Ema. I still have another question to know in your Vlades Kachin. Maybe I should tell you for Vlades Kachin that there's a lav. The Sag that Chamino Hoyle the Kedusha Kishem Bamumin. The Kedusha was Chaw in their Bamum. Agav Imam because you were Makdish the mother Kishem Bamumin. So then Nami Karbi maybe she able to bring it Kamash Blondalai. They're finding Pastava. You cannot. Rava Kar Paska Tana de Bishmal. I already have a psak from Tana de Bishmal. The Tana de Bishmal Raka Shecha Sheyilacha and Raka Shecha is referring to Eva Tmurais Asher Yilach Eva Vladais and Drecha Hakishon Kasal Neder Maneder Bamum Lai Afhani Nami Bamum Lai. I know all these things already. You cannot, and therefore we do have a triple Azeh that there is a Isser Bamum on the Bamas Yachid from Lysis Machlashami Kefa. Zaktimura Vaiter Ve'inais and Tmura. These things are not in the parsha of making Tmura. My time, why not? Amarkra. Once the Torah says you can't switch out a bad animal, your bad hagdish, you can't switch it out for a good one. So then why do these say Toiv v'ra mibayim? They should also say, and also don't take a good animal and switch it for a bad one. It's pasha. Rather we darshan the pasuk like this: El Toiv me ikrai, only something that started off Toiv, Oisa Tmura can become Tmura. But Ramekar is something that started off bad, like a Balmum, like our Mishnah, Einais and Tmura doesn't make Tmura. Zakti Gemara, Mesu, you have to, and if they die, you have to be paid. Maybe Yehud Amarav, so the Reb Shimon, this is Reb Shimon, Damar Kachim is bad, Chayyur B'chlam Hamad Baracha. Kachim B'ed Kabayis, Lehai B'chlam Hamad Baracha. Only Kachim is bad needs Hamad Baracha. Kachim B'ed Kabayis does not need Hamad Baracha. And therefore, this animal of our Mishnah that died, and you cannot stand it up and evaluate it, still needs to be pidyon because Pedek Kabayis doesn't need Hamad Aracha. Ditnan, Reb Shimon Aimer, Kacha Pedek Kabayis, Im Mesu Yiftu. Umayder Reb Shimon, however, Bebamo may ikrai shenifta. That if it was Balmum to start off with, that you are paid it because it is it was never a wait a second. Why is he saying Umayder Reb Shimon Balmum may ikrai? That's what our mission is talking about. Shenifta. Just a little sheet here. Not sure what. Wait a second. Reb Shimon Aimer Kacha Pedek Kabayis. Im Mesu Yiftu, Umayder Reb Shimon B'Balmum Me Ikrai Shenifta. Oh, it's the same thing. Reb Shimon says Kachim B'Ed Kabayis is not B'Chla Hamad Baracha, but Kachim Mizbeach is. But if it's a Balmum Me Ikarai, it's not Kachim Mizbeach, and therefore it could be a pidyon. My time, and Damakra Isa Meyute Balmum Me Ikarai. Av Chacham Aimrim in Mesu Yikaber. The Chacham say it doesn't have pidyon. Why? Man Chachamim, who is that Chachamim? The Bein Levi, who is Tan the Bein Levi? Tan the Bein Levi, Hakol Hayibachal Hamad Baracha. Everyone needs Hamad Baracha. Afil Bamamei Karoi, and therefore, if it dies, you can't do Hamad Baracha. You could just bury it. It's not bar pidyon. The Chaytan the Bein Levi Mas Nisan. He says in our Mishnah also Afil Chay Afil Oif. All animals need Hamad Baracha. Practically, Mara Aibach Siv Isa isn't Isa Mimayeted. Isa Tan the Bein Levi Kasha. Av Rabbanan, the Polygaler Reb Shimon, the Rabbanan who argue on the Reb Shimon over there. Reb Shimon says only Kachim B'Ed Kabayis, only Kachim Mizbeach is bar is B'chal Hamad Baracha, but Kachim Mizbeach is not. What do they hold? What do the Rabbanan hold? My Hachanami, they would ask him in Mesu Yiftu that if it dies, it would have pidyon because it's different, like Reb Shimon. Well, if so, Yachi is different Reb Shimon Machakusami Bailei. The Gemara should have said this is Reb Shimon, and those who argue on him normally, this is what they hold over here. Amri, so the Gemara says Amri Rav Reb Shimon ben Lakish Amar Rabbanan Kachim B'Ed Kabayis Hayib B'Chlam Hamad Baracha. Rav said, like Reb Shimon ben Lakish, that the Rabbanan are masking that Kachim B'Ed Kabayis are B'Chlam Hamad Baracha. Kachim Mizbeach loy Hayib B'Chlam Hamad Baracha. V'loy mituk mamasnis and Rabbanan. The Mishnah can't be Rabbanan Diktani Seifa that makes you kavru. We see it doesn't have pidyon, so that's why he can't say it's Rabbanan as well. But who said in the Seif when it says if it dies you have to bury it is because there's a chesar in Hamad Baracha? Maybe there's a totally different reason. What are you going to do with this animal after it dies? You paid it. Well, you can't eat it. You would only feed it to your dogs. So maybe there's a separate halacha which we do say you can't be paid to something to feed it to your dogs. Maybe that's why, not because it's a chesar in Hamad Baracha. Amri, on that they said, Im Kain, if that was the only reason, Nisni im Nasu Treifa Yikavru. If it became a treifa already, you can't be paid because they have nothing to do with it. You can't feed it to your dogs. Why does it have to be talking about a mesu? Elamai, it's a mesu din, which is a chesar and hamad baracha. V'ibais ema, or another taras l'olam rav kirab yechon svirlei. V'tanazu devrei Shimon machakusai, and you put it in. That's why he was actually geras. This is like Reb Shimon umachakusai. Yashkayach. Let's show. We continue again tomorrow.